And what's up, everyone? This is Francis over here from P Nintendo and PlayerEssence.com. And today we're going to be talking about Bayonetta 2. We're going to be talking about the media. We're going to be talking about the major media's um, deliberate and obvious troll baiting when it comes to the sales of the game and the media create charts. And I have some information that I want to pass along to you guys because I feel a lot of the information is not getting out there. Um, this video is not going to be going after YouTubers or going after people with just an opinion. Okay, we're talking about websites that want to be held accountable and want to be held as credible sources of information, journalists, people that are supposed to be journalists. So this is not talking about YouTubers because YouTubers, they're misinformed about, a lot of YouTubers are misinformed about everything, especially YouTubers in a certain type of community that we have here. A lot of YouTubers don't know anything. They don't want to be called journalists. They don't want to be anything to do with that because that means they actually have to research stuff. They don't want to do that. They just want to say their opinion and just go about it their way, so that's fine. This video is not towards people who've made videos on Bayonetta 2 who are YouTubers. I don't care about them, okay? So just disclaimer. So if you're somebody who does that, it's not about you. This is about professionals. This is about professional journalists. This is about the SPJ. This is about people that want to be held accountable and supposed to be credible when it comes to reporting on things. And there's a lot of information that I kind of want to go over. The first reason why I'm even doing this in the first place, I talked about the SPJ, which is the Society of Professional Journalists, which you have to, if you're running a website, if you're Kotaku, if you're IGN, if you're Player Essence, if you're whatever, you have to be diligent and you have to be very insightful on your headlines and your titles. The clickbait, the troll bait, that stuff has to stop. The negative things have to stop. I stopped doing it when Zen, the Zen Gamer, he had made a video, and I was already kind of leaning to that, but he made a video, and I looked at the SPJ, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my best to follow this. The clickbait and the troll bait and all the stuff that was done on Player Essence, cut out. You know what I'm saying? I try to do my best. And these websites are purposefully writing troll bait lines and selectively reporting on things how they see fit in order to get some quick hits. They have an agenda to a push, and that's what I'm trying to get to. You've heard about this Gamergate stuff, how, journalists are getting together and, hey, what should we push? What should we bash? What should we ignore? It's pretty clear to me the way that it's looking. And from what I've heard at E3, this isn't just from what I've seen online in Gamergate. I've heard these same journalists on these big websites talk about certain things. They want to push the PS4, any slight bit of Wii U negative news. Make sure you push that. News about Microsoft or about Sony losing money, that's not important. The PS Vita, not important. Right now, the doom system is Wii U. And any little bit of news that they can get to where it makes Wii U in a negative light or Wii U games in a negative light, they're going to make sure they report on it. Meanwhile, ignoring other things, ignoring other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get into that. So for those who don't know, journalists seek the truth and report it. Journalists should be honest, fair, courageous in gathering, reporting, and interpreting information. Now, this doesn't apply to what focus your site is. If you're a Sony site, like if you're more of a Sony type of site, like DualShockers or Going Sony, that's fine. You do your thing. If you're more of a Nintendo site and reporting, you do your thing. You have to be fair, though. Or if you're like me, like you're like a mix, I'm more of a Nintendo site, but I report on Microsoft and Sony, then, that's that. So that's the one thing. Be fair. Journalists should be fair and courageous in gathering and reporting and interpreting information. Everything, especially Kotaku, their headline, Bayonetta 2 sales are dismal. That is not fair one bit. That is not fair one bit. And I'll get into the reason why it's not fair. They did not elaborate. They put things so out of context in order to push an agenda. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. One of the things as far as journalism, just so I can give you guys a background of how these sites are supposed to be reporting, test the accuracy of information from all sources and exercise care to avoid inadvertent error. Deliberate distortion is never permissible. The distortion, the wronging, not leaving out facts, they should be researching these things. They should have said, oh yeah, Bayonetta 2 only had 1 day of sales. They should be putting in their articles, oh yeah, the Wii U's install base is actually lower in Japan than Bayonetta 1, because a lot of them were comparing Bayonetta 1 sales to Bayonetta 2, even though Bayonetta 1 had more days to track. It had 4 days on the media create compared to basically the 1 day, 1.5, or however you want to call it, 1 day to track for Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U. A lot of them weren't putting that information down in there. They're supposed to. That's part of being fair. If you're going to compare two sales and systems, you've got to make sure information is known and everybody knows out there. They should have said, okay, we're comparing Bayonetta 1 to Bayonetta 2. IGN did this and lots of other sites did this. If they're going to compare the two games, you know what I'm saying? Put the install bases at the time, put how many days they tracked. Because if one game is on sale, you know what I'm saying, and it sells 40,000 units in 1 day or a day and a half, and another game is on sale for 4 days and it sells more, you need to let people know that. A lot of these websites weren't. IGN got caught out on it and they had to edit their article. But at the beginning, they didn't do that. Kotaku's main line was just horrible. Absolutely horrible. Completely unprofessional with their main line. It wasn't really fair at all. And you know what? I'm actually going to get into why it's not fair. And I'm also going to say something right now. The reason why I'm doing this in the SPJ, if you guys go on Player Essence, you guys can see it right there. If you scroll down, not necessarily to where you see like the actual video, but if you scroll down a little bit, I have an article saying, hey, I'm going to put this up. There you can have a link to the SPJ. Okay. And on the SPJ, it basically says, this is one of the things, journalists should be vigilant and courageous about holding those with power accountable. Okay. People like IGN, people like Kotaku, these bigger websites, they have power. And when they spread information when they spread this type of information like this and not be fair to everybody, that's a problem. And that's the reason why I'm saying them by name. And that's another reason why I'm not talking about YouTubers. Because in my opinion, YouTubers don't hold any power. The people who follow YouTubers who do clickbait videos and who want to run away from being journalists, I don't care about them, okay? This is about professional journalists, okay? And like I said, nobody's perfect, but these people get paid big money. These are big sites, big money, and they continue making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. They continue troll baiting on Nintendo. They did it with Super Mario 3D World. Now they're doing it now with Bayonetta. So the first thing I want to mention is the Bayonetta 2 sales. It came out, the media create came out. For those who don't know, Bayonetta 2 sold in 1 day, basically, sold right under 40K. I think 38,000 something in 1 day. And everybody's like, that's horrible. When The Wonderful 101 came out last year and the sales came out and it sold 5,200 copies, the same reaction from these websites. So whether you sell 5,200 copies or you sell nearly 40,000 copies, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same amount of hate. Nobody said, oh, wow, Bayonetta 2 came out, the second game in this duo of exclusive games for the Wii U, and it actually sold 7 times the amount of The Wonderful 101 on 1 day of sales. Nobody put that in their articles. Nobody had that comparison. Digital Foundry had no problem comparing the frame rates of The Wonderful 101 to Bayonetta 2, but none of them want to put, man, Bayonetta 2 did a lot better than The Wonderful 101 for a Platinum Games title. Nobody put that. All they did was, it was the same doom and gloom The Wonderful 101 got. It was the same thing, and I have a problem with that. I have a huge problem with that. Another thing, before we get into more of the facts here, like I said, for those who just joined, because I'm seeing that more people are coming, the media create tracked from September 15th, 2014 to September 21st, 2014. Bayonetta 2 launched on September 20th. 1.9 million console install base. Should it have done better? Could it have done better? Sure. But this is part of, as far as being a journalist, is being fair. The rest of the media, these big sites, always talk about how Japan is dead, talk about how the Japan market is declining, talk about how Japan is nothing. Yet when a game comes out like Bayonetta 2, and that the Japanese market, the home console market, isn't as big as the portable market, they have no problem outing it and saying it's selling horrible.